Why is XL opening? For the love of God, go away. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, welcome back to another video, and welcome back to another episode of Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney. The last time you saw me, we spent far too long trying to figure out how the hell you blow the fingerprint dust through an emulator, but we got there. I should probably just check that my hotkey is still turned on. It is, look at that. Wonderful. Just what we like to see. So, we had just found out that the fingerprint on the locker in the evidence room where the crime occurred was belonged to Howdy partner Jake Marshall. And that was where we left off. That was the big twist. So, let's see what happens next, I suppose. My friends did warn me that this case is insanely long, and considering the last episode ran on for 2.5 hours, I'm going to believe them. So God knows how fucking long this is going to be. I might have to not do an entire part at once. Thankfully I can save whenever, because this is an emulator. Where? I'm getting my walkthrough up just in case. I'm just finding the right place in it. Okay, day 3, that's where we are, right. February 24th, 9:41 AM, District Court Defendant Lobby number 1. I've got my speakers at the normal volume, but it's actually exceptionally quiet for once. What's going on? What? Yeah, there's like no desktop audio. What? That is so strange, because normally that's like deafening me, and this is the same pair of headphones I always use. What's going on? Did I fuck up the audio last time? Did I do something to it? Oh! Oh, okay, hold on. Oh my god, now it's deafening me. Oh Jesus. Yeah, that's why. Never actually occurred to me to go in and turn down the specific Desmumi sound. Didn't actually know that was an option that I had, but there we go. You learn something new every day, fam. Okay, well, let's... Right, so... What do you think, Mr. Wright? I think the prosecution is as confused as we are. After all, the victim was murdered in 2 different places at the same time. And a different suspect was arrested at the other crime scene. Lana! Good morning, Mr. Wright. I apologise for yesterday. I was indisposed. I hope they didn't hold you too long for questioning. We just finished, actually. I'm used to all-nighters, though. So how'd it go? It's as Mr. Wright suspects. The police are clueless. I figured as much, so I struck a plea bargain. A plea bargain? What do you mean by that? We agreed that if I told them the truth behind this simultaneous murder, they wouldn't seek capital punishment. That's what I mean, Emma. But Lana, don't tell me you... Much to my regret, I'm as much in the dark about this as they are. Miss Skye. We discovered traces left by a certain person in the police department's evidence room. They belong to Officer Jake Marshall. You found Officer Marshall's traces? Bloodstained fingerprints, to be exact. That's the trump card I have up my sleeve today. You do understand what this means, don't you? In order to defend my sister, you're going to accuse Mr. Marshall? We have to play the cards we're dealt. Isn't that right, Miss Skye? Do what you have to do, Mr. Wright. Why every time do I sit down to record is there always something going on outside my house? February 24th, 10 AM, District Court, Courtroom number 9. It's here! It's edgy! It's court time! Court is now in session for the trial of Ms. Lana Skye. The defence is ready, Your Honour. The prosecution is... Humph. Prosecution is humph! Humph? I'm afraid you'll have to clarify. It takes 30 minutes by car to reach criminal affairs in the prosecutor's office. The victim, Bruce Goodman, was slain at both places at the same time. But that's not physically possible, is it? What's more, I hear the victim from the evidence room just disappeared. Yes, and the body eventually reappeared in the trunk of Mr. Edgeworth's car. Wow, this is one messed up trial. One of my duties as prosecutor is to present impartial evidence. Today I will present evidence relating to the murder at the police department. In so doing, I believe the way in which we should proceed will reveal itself. Now that's what sets Mr. Edgeworth apart. He sounds so on top of things, even though he doesn't know what's going on himself. And that's supposed to be an admirable trait? Phoenix, that's what I do every day of my life. Make it sound like I'm on top of things when I don't have a clue what's going on. That's how I got through 4 years of uni, and I got a first class degree, so I did something right. Very well, let the trial resume. On the day of the crime, what exactly transpired at the police department? Honestly, mate, fuck knows. Mr. Edgeworth, you may call your first witness of the day to the stand. I have this, like, giant lump in the back of my head here. Well, it's not giant, but probably big enough to go on Dr. Pimple Popper. And it hurts like hell, and I keep touching it because it's, like, it's so sore. So if you see me sitting like this, like, through half the videos, because this thing in the back of my head is really hurting. Mr. Edgeworth, you may call your first witness of the day to the stand. For its first witness, the prosecution calls the suspect of the murder that occurred at the police department. The suspect? You mean the so-called murderer? Hey boy. Things are getting wild from the get-go. Things are getting wild from the get-go. I need that on a shirt. Oh good lord, it's Meekins. I actually forgot that he was the suspect. Will the witness please state his name and occupation? Yes, sir. I'm Officer Mike Meekins, sir. My occupation is, that would be murderer, sir. So you're telling us you're a professional killer? Sir, it was me, sir. I'm the one who did it. I'll never kill anyone again, sir. You've got to believe me, sir. Can you imagine going into court and just being like, look, I'll never do it again. I'll never kill anyone again. Can I please go home? To be fair, I imagine a lot of people have said that. Oh god, I missed what you just said. Sir, I'm part of what you would call I'm what you would call part of the younger generation, sir. Oh god, he's a millennial. So am I. A person whose actions adults can't possibly comprehend. Please, Mr. Edgeworth, sir, help me, sir. Officer Meekins. Yes, sir. Give us your report of the crime. Consider that an order. Yes, sir. As you wish. As you wish. Oh, Wesley. After all, I'm part of the generation that must be told what to do, sir. You can't fault him for a lack of enthusiasm. I can fault him for something. Right, here's your report. Although it's not my normal duty, I was assigned to guard the evidence room that day. I spotted a suspicious... Why am I sounding so Scottish today? I spotted a suspicious man on the security screen and rushed into the room. I was only doing what I was trained to do, sir. I was suddenly attacked. I fought for my life. And then I did it. After that, I passed out. Until another officer smacked me awake. Should I just do this whole episode in a broad Scots accent? Phoenix Wright, Sheriff Court Lawyer. So the victim, Detective Goodman, attacked you. Do unto others before they do unto you. That's the Meekins family motto, sir. I see. Then you fainted and a colleague helped you regain consciousness. Aye, sir. He knocked me upside the head, sir. Very well. The defence may begin its cross-examination. What I need here is more info to work with. Yeah, that could be handy. I'm not going to lie. Although it's not my normal duty, I was assigned to guard the evidence room that day. Alright, I forgot I'm meant to be actually doing something. Right, wheesht. Press. Mr. Meekins, you work in the General Affairs Department, do you not? Yes, sir. I'm in charge of hiring new recruits, sir. Yikes. Now there's a scary thought. Evidence transfer was taking place on the day of the crime, which meant many officers were given special tasks not ordinarily performed. I was in charge of guarding the Blue Badger, sir. The Blue Badger? It sounds like a strip joint the way he says it. I was guarding the Blue Badger. Yes, sir, the lovely police mascot created by the head detective, sir. Please stop showing me this. I was to ensure it wasn't broken during the transferal process. I'm going to transfer it to the dumpster. That was my sole mission for the day, sir. I see. Sounds like a very, important mission. After the award ceremony finished that day, there were so many people running around that I relocated the Blue Badger to the evidence room. Oh, so that's why you went to the evidence room. Stop telling me to update, Norton. I'll get there. I'll get there when I'm good and ready. Fuck off. So that's why you went to the evidence room. Tell us, what did you see when you got there? I spotted a suspicious man on the security screen and rushed into the room. In order to enter the evidence room, you need an ID card, am I correct? Precisely, sir. I have one right here on my neck. So then, your ID number should be listed in here, right? But it ain't. Or is it? There it is, I found it. This is the one right here. Could you please read us the number? Yes, sir. It's 4989596. 4989596. That's my number, sir. I see. Huh. But the number 989596 is being shown as used twice. Please explain, witness. It's no real mystery, sir. The first time was when I relocated the Blue Badger to the evidence room. And the second time is when I went to go get him after everything settled down. That was only a 25-minute gap, though. I mean, I suppose that makes sense, but that just seems like a lot of effort. So it was during that second time when... Yes, sir, that's when I spotted the man in the security screen. Data added to the ID card record. I was only doing what I was trained to do, sir. I was suddenly attacked. So you were attacked. Can you please tell us exactly what happened to you? It was a knife, sir. A knife! Detective Goodman pulled a knife on you? What happened then? Well, with me charging in on him like that, he looked as surprised as I was. You aren't exactly the kind of person someone would want to run into. That's when I reacted, sir. I swung my arms like an octopus, struggling to detain him. That's how I got this gash on my hand. Maybe if you just kept your cool, your hand wouldn't be... When I saw the blood trickling down my arm, I panicked. I grabbed the man by his collar. I fought for my life, and then I did it. What exactly do you mean when you say you did it? I know I don't look the type, but I'm really into kung fu films, sir. The man let his guard down for just an instant, so I snatched his knife from him. You took his knife? I spun him around and performed a disarming maneuver. And then he ran into my knife. He ran into my knife 10 times. I made sure to close my eyes like a man. See, he must have been desperate. The next thing I knew, his white coat was drenched in a sea of my blood, and then the next thing I knew, yes, he punched me right in my face, sir. After that, I passed out, until another officer smacked me awake. About what time did you gain consciousness? No offense, sir, but how am I supposed to know that? I was unconscious. Oh, right. According to the report from the officer that woke up the witness, it was about 5:30. He hit me right in the head, too. I woke up crying, tears of pain. That's nice. I mean, it's nice that you recovered, that is. When I came around, though, I made sure to finish my mission, sir. Your mission? Yes, sir. The Blue Badger, sir. I returned him to the entrance before things got out of hand. Well, we can all rest easy now. I believe we now have a fairly accurate picture of what happened. Yes, Your Honor. Only one thing remains unclear. Was the man this officer murdered really the victim? He's got a point. Yes, Officer Meekins? With regard to that, sir, take a look at this. It was sent to my cell. Chief Gant delivered it to me just this morning, sir. The Chief? Delivered it? What is that? A videotape? Yes, sir. That's absolutely right, sir. A videotape, sir. It contains footage from the security camera in the evidence room. What? But I specifically asked if there was such a tape, and was told it had been mistakenly erased. That's quite a mistake. I just do what I'm told, sir. It's the only thing I'm really good at. Looks like communication with the police department is as good as ever. Told you it was all a cover-up. Well then, let's have a look. Show us the video of you murdering the victim. Oh, please stop using that word murder, sir. It scares me. A video of a real murder? Just what are we getting ourselves into? Will you stop making me look at this thing? I hate it. Make it go away. In the words of the she-beast herself, Kate Bush, make it go away. I can't stand Kate Bush's music. This thing is demonic. I love it. I love it. His stupid flag is in front of the guy's face through the entire thing. How incredibly helpful you are, Blue Badger. Fucking hell. And now he's on the floor. Well, wasn't that just the best piece of evidence I'd done ever seen? Fan-dabby-dozy. Please take him away. I'm begging you. I love when Edgeworth looks as if he's about to have every sort of brain malfunction that anyone could ever have. Neurosurgeons can't believe the amount of aneurysms this man had at once. Well, I believe we're all thinking the same thing. Oh, that's what I was feeling. I was thinking, what the fuck? How can we deal with these unsettling feelings stirred within us? What the hell was that? There we go. What the hell was that wriggling piece of plywood? Ah, I'm taking a picture of that. Thank you, Edgeworth. Someone needed to question this. I hate this Blue Badger. Sir, that's the pride and joy of the entire Criminal Affairs Department, sir. It's the Blue Badger, sir. Why am I not surprised this isn't going smoothly? Security video added to the court record. Aye, for all its use. Yes, well anyway. This tape seems to prove that the witness did indeed encounter someone in the evidence room, and some sort of activity did take place. Your Honour, instead of relying on clearly incomplete footage, the witness's testimony will suffice. Is that alright with you, Officer Meekins? Yes, sir. As you wish, sir. So you made me watch that horrible video for no reason. How kind of you! Mystery Man. His face can't be clearly seen in the video. But there's no question that the other person was Detective Goodman, sir. I mean, he opened the locker, which required Detective Goodman's fingerprint to do so. The locker he opened is unquestionably Detective Goodman's locker, sir. So it must be him. No one else could have unlocked it. That is a fair point. I'm sure they'll find some way to prove that that ain't true, but that is a good point. What's this about a fingerprint? Each detective has been given a locker equipped with a fingerprint-activated lock. These locks ensure that each locker can only be opened by the detective it belongs to. Intriguing. That would mean the victim at the crime scene would have to have been Detective Goodman. Very well. The defence may begin its cross-examination. I don't know where this cross-examination will lead, but everything begins with contradictions. That's where I have to start. Tell me, were you able to get a good look at him? At the face of the man who attacked you with a knife? Sir, if you must label people as having seen or not seen a man's face, I believe I'd be classified as the latter? The latter? But you were standing right in front of him, weren't you not? More to the point, you are the person who fought him, aren't you? Oh yes, sir. But I didn't get a clear look at his face, sir. I'm not the kind of guy who looks directly at people when talking with them, you see. I mean, I can understand that. I don't remember the last time I ever looked at someone I was talking to them. Yeah, that's a good trait for a police officer. Still, I'm sure it was him. I bet my badge on it. But there's no question that the other person was Detective Goodman, sir. But you don't know that for sure, do you? You never actually saw Detective Goodman's face. Well, I suppose you might say that. That is, if you must label people as having seen or not seen it. Since his face can't be identified in the video, only you can verify it. Why is everyone looking at me? If I had to label your stares as disturbing, or... Edgeworth's gonna lose his mind. Meekins! Having been shown a questionable video at best, we are not in the best of moods. Now, please be more certain when you testify. Yes, sir. You claimed the man who brandished a knife on you was Bruce Goodman. Tell us why you're positive it was him. I mean, he opened the locker, which required Detective Goodman's fingerprint to do so. About these lockers, is there no other way to open them? No, sir. I myself tried all kinds of methods in the past. They only respond to registered fingerprints, sir. I wonder what kind of methods he's tried. If the man opened the locker's lock, which only responds to its registered fingerprints, then he must be the person the locker was assigned to. Exactly my point, sir. And this too. The locker he opened is unquestionably Detective Goodman's locker, sir. How do you know that information? I've heard rumours, sir, from the people in the know, sir. People in the know? The workers in the department cafeteria, sir. They keep me informed. They also listen to my romantic troubles, sir. For the record, the opened locker did indeed belong to Detective Goodman. I verified this information through a more reliable source. So the victim opened the locker with his own fingerprint. So it must be him. No one else could have unlocked it. However, the most important detail is not shown in this video. The man's face. Sir, if I may say something, sir. Please do. After all, you are the one being examined. I don't understand why the man's face is so important in this case, sir. I mean, it was his hand that opened the fingerprint lock. And it was his hand that tried to thrust his knife into my body, sir. My unsettled state can testify enough to this, sir. All this saying, sir, right? No one's gonna get this reference, but there's a bit in the second episode of Hornblower where it's like Captain Hammond's, Ian McElhinney, and Dennis Lawson's character sitting in a boat, and they're having an argument, and they keep ending each sentence with this sir, and they're like yelling at each other, but they're like, "Oh, did I win a mess, sir? I did a mess, sir." And it's hysterical, and this is what this reminds me of, because there's so many sirs. All I'm seeing in my head is Dennis Lawson. If y'all haven't seen Hornblower, it's very good. I'm not talking about Ewan Griffith right now, because there's drama, and it makes me sad to even get involved. But Hornblower is the best, you should watch it. Anyway, yes, you have a point, the footage doesn't lie. That is, unless the defence can find a problem with it. Mr. Wright, let's check the court record again. Is there a problem with the security video? I mean, I guess there must be, or they wouldn't be asking me. Regarding the video contained in this tape, there is one thing in particular that seems rather strange. Strange? This contradiction leads to the possibility that the man may not be Detective Goodman. What? This video contains such a contradiction? Edgeworth, you just told me to do this. Interesting. Your Honour, I have a proposal. Yes, Mr. Edgeworth? I propose we have the defence point out to us this alleged contradiction in the video. He would want me to point it out. Very well, proposal accepted. Let us further inspect this piece of evidence. I do like how me and Edgeworth seem to be on the same team for this one, like we're tag teaming it. I enjoy that. I hope we get to team up and fight bad guys more often. It does seem a bit strange, because I don't know many cases where the prosecution and the defence were on the same side. But I think the two of them are just so confused by all of this that they've given up caring who they're defending and who they're prosecuting. They just want it done. I'll now play the security tape. Oh god, you're gonna make me look at it again. No, don't make me look at it. I have to point out a problem in the video. This is the first time I've ever had to do that. You can do it, Mr. Wright. It's set up so you can fast forward, rewind, or pause the video. Just take a good look and be sure to point out the right thing. Please don't play it too many times. I can't stand watching this video. How did this guy ever become a police officer? Now then, Mr. Wright, please enlighten us. Where is the contradiction that indicates the man may not be Detective Goodman? First of all, Meekins, I also don't want to have to look at this video too many times. Okay, so here he comes. The music is hideous as well. I hate the whole thing. Right, hold on, by the way. Okay, see, there's no bit of material coming out of that door. So we do see him. We definitely see him open the door. And there's still nothing in the locker. But then didn't that locker belong to... No, wait, no, that one belonged to Gumshoe, didn't it? Jeez, oh, that is brutal, isn't it? Oops, that's not what I meant. There. So he could be the person who belongs to this locker because he's managed to open it and put something in it. Thud. The thing that's strange about this video has got to be this. Yes, that is strange. Something certainly seems unnatural about that. What could it mean? The guy has no idea what I've pointed out. Sorry to interrupt, Mr. Wright, but you seem to have forgotten the point of this exercise. The point? What you're looking for is one thing and one thing only. Something that indicates the man may not be Detective Goodman. Oh yeah. Phew. I almost walked right into the defence's trap. I'll place him under arrest, sir. Rats. I need to slow down and tackle these things one piece at a time. Now what do I do? Wait, what do you mean? The bit of evidence that I pointed out does prove, because if he managed to open and put something in that thing, then it might be that he is the person that owns that locker. What the fuck are you on about? I hate this game sometimes. The problem is I'm too smart, and I managed to outsmart Edgeworth, and now he's giving me all like, shut up, shut up. Oh, a light indicates open boxes. Okay, fair enough, that is different. But I still think that my piece of evidence is right. Remember one thing, Mr. Wright. Every time you point your finger, someone gets hurt. Next time you point a finger, I'm gonna break it back and break it. That wasn't even the words. I might have to bend it back and break it off. But he's the one pointing his finger. Next time you point a finger, I'll point you to the mirror. I still think I'm right, but maybe I need to show him this first. Right, I get it. Just give me the fucking video. Make me look at the blue badger again. Right. I think my touchpad's fucking broken again. The thing that's strange about this video has got to be this. Officer Meekins. Sir. Did you mean me, sir? As I understand, the locker apparatus works like this. When you grab the handle, a sensor reads your fingerprint. If the print matches the registered data, the light turns on and the lock is released. According to my very limited experience, that's the way I understand it, sir. If so, then something is seriously wrong with this picture. Stop making me look at it. Get him out of my face. Why do you keep making me look at this? When the victim reaches for the handle to open up the locker, let's rewind to a little earlier. Here, notice the light? What's this? It's already lit. Precisely my point, Your Honor. The locker was already open before the victim grabbed the handle. Oh my god. Oda. What's the meaning of this? It's very simple, Your Honor. The locker wasn't locked on the day of the crime. But the locker locks are controlled by an electronic system. When a door is shut, a sensor is triggered. And the locker is automatically locked. Oh, I know. It must have broken down. Of course, I'm not an expert in this. That's not likely, Your Honor. The sensor would detect and report any malfunction. Oh well, it just goes to show novices should keep their mouths shut. So then, Mr. Wright, do you have an explanation? Me, Your Honor? Yes, why wasn't the locker locked? Me, Your Honor? Yes, well, you see, this isn't exactly my field. What do you think, Miss Scientific Investigator? Huh? Oh, maybe something like jam the electric system? Something jammed the sensor? Say, there's something else that seems out of place in this video. Yeah, I thought so too. There's got to be another clue somewhere in this footage. Now can I show you the thing sticking out of the door? Very well, let's inspect the video once more. The locker wasn't locked. Mr. Wright, please point out the cause for this. Is it the thing falling out of the door? Please watch closely. This is the continuation of the part I showed you earlier. Stop making me look at this video, for the love of God. It's also making this whole... Like, no wonder this case goes on so long when we've had to watch this video like 5 times already. What's this? Something white fell out of the locker. But sir, it's been my experience that things fall out when doors are opened. I often fall out and roll great distances when I open my car door. We can't be sure. That item was in the locker to begin with. What do you mean? The sensor triggers the lock when the door is shut. What if something was inserted, say, between the sensor and the door? Inserted? Why did you have to say it like that, sir? Please don't pronounce... don't say inserted so weird. This white thing wasn't inside the locker. It was stuck between the door and the sensor. Oh, I understand now, sir. It's just like my tie. 2 out of 3 times it gets stuck in the door when I get out of my patrol vehicle, sir. Instead of the door closing, my tie chokes me. But the object would have to be extremely thin to fit in the door. Not only that, it would also have to block electrical currents. It would need to be an insulator. Yes, an insulator. But at the crime scene. There just might have been something that fits the description. But sir, an insulator? You don't mean... I think I've finally got this figured out. Very well. Will the defence please present the relevant evidence? What was this insulator that was stuck in the locker door? We did find some at the crime scene, didn't we? What was it? Oh, the rubber glove. Extremely thin rubber glove. I found this near the locker, a thin rubber glove. But we can't be sure that was in the victim's locker. It has a tag that says SL9 incident. The video seems to depict the victim opening the locker. But that isn't the case. The lit lamp attests to this. On the day of the crime, even I could have opened that locker. Is this not so, Officer Meekins? Sir, it would appear so, sir. Am I done watching that fucking video yet? Order! 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 So are we to believe then that the victim, whom this witness stabbed in the evidence room, was not Detective Goodman? Do not be misled, Your Honour. What do you mean, Mr. Edgeworth? The defence has merely demonstrated that possibility and nothing more. The victim in the video was indeed Bruce Goodman. The prosecution will offer one more testimony to prove this. What? Officer Meekins, please testify about this. Sir? Me, sir? I'm not sure what you're referring to, sir. Oh, you mean that, sir? Of course, sir. Is this a joke? Oh my god, is this a joke? Very well, begin your testimony. Mystery Man 2. Mystery Man Harder. There's one other thing that proves the man was Detective Goodman, sir. To enter the evidence room, one must use their ID card. When an ID card is used, there's a record of it. At the time of the crime, the detective had used his card. Yes, but it's entirely possible to get someone else's ID card. Come on. An ID card record, I see. I have the ID card record right here, Your Honour. Who the fuck has got the ID 777777? The ID used at 5:14 is that of the victim. Which would be really handy if you were trying to stage a crime. Just before the crime, yes, without a doubt this is the victim's ID. However, one thing does strike me as unusual. Several hundred cases should have been due for transferal. Why were there so few people using this room? This particular evidence room is only used for storing certain special cases. Special cases? Extremely violent cases involving police staff. Just hearing that makes my hair stand on end. Me too, although it doesn't make much of a difference. There were only a few cases up for transferal there, and most were cleared up by noon. Right, I see. Now, let's move on to the cross-examination. He only said, like, 3 things. There's one other thing that proves the man was Detective Goodman, sir. So, unlike your earlier testimony, you believe this to be rock solid, do you? Yes, sir. Solid as stone, sir. If my hand wasn't wrapped in bandages, I'd even give the V for victory sign, sir. Couldn't he just use his right hand for that? Let's hear him out. The witness can't afford to make any more mistakes. To enter the evidence room, one must use their ID card. Is that ID card hanging from your neck one of these ID cards? Yes, sir. This card right here next to my cuffs, sir. I keep it here so I won't ever forget it. But what if someone were to steal it from you, keeping it out in the open like that? Maybe I shouldn't wear it around my neck. Remember when I said 2 out of 3 times my tie gets stuck in the car door when I get out? Well, the remaining time my ID card gets stuck. Instead of the door closing, my ID card chokes me. Maybe I should just leave this one alone. At any rate, each police officer has only one ID card. Both the police department and the prosecutor's office can attest to this. Please proceed with your testimony. When an ID card is yours, there's a record of it. Let it be noted that this is the record the witness referred to. Let me see. Yes, that would be it. Detective Goodman. What's the matter? According to this, Mr. Edgeworth, your name is on here. Oh my god, he bowed. So it is, Your Honour. For fuck's sake. Not that prosecutor again. Hey, maybe he's behind all this. Being a prosecutor, he could hide the evidence. Mommy, is that man in blue a murderer? Shh, don't stare at him. You've got the wrong colour, kid. It would seem the inquiry committee will want to speak with you again today. I have nothing to be ashamed of regarding my actions or their consequences. For now, let us continue with the cross-examination. Poor Mr. Edgeworth, it must be so difficult for him. Yeah, getting on trial for murder all the time, that is a gutter. Earlier, I believe you testified that when you asked the man to show his ID card, he pulled out a knife on you. Yes, sir, he didn't show me any ID card, sir. Don't you think that's odd? I mean, if he had his ID cards, All he had to do was show it to you. There wouldn't be any reason to draw a knife. Maybe he just panicked. Everything stems from contradictions. Let's point them out. Mr. Wright, what do you think? I'm confused. What? The problem with this ID card testimony is far too obvious. It's not like Edgeworth to miss something like this. You're thinking too hard about it. Come on, let's show them what we've got. Let's see what we have. So, what do we have? Well, the fact that the card was found at the parking lot is a bit strange. If he was killed at the evidence room. I think that's about all we've got here. I can't think what else would be. Wait, do you think his lost item report was for his ID badge? I'm going to try presenting this. See what happens. The music stopped. Wait one moment, Officer Meekins. I'm not good at waiting, sir. I have the victim's ID card right here. I found it at the crime scene. That makes sense. When I say crime scene, I'm not referring to the evidence room at the police department. I mean the other crime scene. The underground parking lot at the prosecutor's office. Your Honour, I have one more piece of evidence to present. It's a very important clue regarding the victim's ID card. A lost item report. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Do you think it's for the ID badge? But it shows that Detective Goodman has lost something on the day of the crime. Something important enough to fill out this report. Let me guess. You believe this something to be his ID card, right? I can't say for sure, but there's a high probability. On the day of the crime, Detective Goodman was not carrying his card. Oda. So now what does this all mean? It can only mean one thing. It doesn't require much thought. The man Officer Meekins encountered in the evidence room was not Detective Goodman, but rather the man who stole his ID card. Order! Does the prosecution have a response? I have only one thing to say to the defense. Bravo, Mr. Wright. Bravo? Allow me to summarize the defense's argument. At 5:15 p.m, on the day of the crime, the man Officer Meekins encountered in the evidence room was not Detective Goodman. There are two grounds to support this. First, the locker in the evidence room was already unlocked. Second, the victim lost his ID card. Am I correct so far, Mr. Wright? Yes. What's he up to? That being the case, we must inevitably arrive at a single conclusion. If the victim in this video is a fake, then the murder in the evidence room is also fake. In other words, the security camera does not show the instant of the murder. That is... well, I guess that's right. Is something wrong, Mr. Wright? Only moments ago you seemed content to be pointing your finger around. This isn't good. Well, it seems you finally realised exactly what you've gone to such lengths to prove. Explain yourself, Mr. Edgeworth. The defence has already done the explaining for me. The victim in this video is a fake. which means a murder did not take place at the police department at 5:15 on the day of the crime. So the real crime could only take place at one location, the underground parking lot, at the prosecutor's office. The murderer being Miss Lana Skye, the defendant. The evidence is compelling. A trustworthy witness observed the moment the defendant used her murder weapon. Ah! I knew that testimony was way too shabby. It was all a trap from the beginning. The activity in the evidence room still leaves many questions unanswered. Who exactly was the victim Officer Meekins encountered? And where did this person disappear to? However, this trial's purpose is to examine only the murder of Detective Goodman. Just so, Your Honour. Mr. Wright, you have to do something, or else Lana... What do I do? How am I supposed to get myself out of this mess? Object? One moment, Your Honour. I don't know where we're going with this. What now, Mr. Wright? Don't tell me you're objecting to what you've just proven. Of course not, but I almost walked right into the prosecution's trap. What are you talking about? This cross-examination has proven one thing and one thing only. The security video did not show the actual murder. However, it cannot be said that it's unrelated to the murder in the parking lot. Specifically, large amounts of blood traces were found in the evidence room. The defence demands further examination into the truth of the matter. Mr. Edgeworth? Yes, Your Honour. If this court were to examine this further, other witnesses might be necessary. Is the prosecution prepared? I'm sorry, Your Honour. The prosecution consider the incident at the police department to be unrelated. We've not prepared any other witnesses for this incident. This just might be my chance. Time to call a certain Texas Ranger to the stand. Mr. Wright, do you mean? Your Honour, the defence would like to request a specific witness. Oh? Whom did you have in mind? Someone we have reason to believe knows the truth. The truth behind the activities that took place in the evidence room. The prosecution requests to hear this person's name, before deciding whether to comply. Very well then. Mr. Wright, this person whom you will have testify, what is his or her name? Officer Jake Marshall. Why him? You can't let him know everything just yet. He's in charge of the evidence room. I feel we should hear what he has to say. The prosecution agrees to the defence's request. Since he was responsible for guarding the room, we should hear his testimony. Fortunately, he works in the police department. We shouldn't need longer than 20 minutes to prepare. Very well. The court will take a 30-minute recess while the witness is subpoenaed. Will the prosecution please prepare the witness during this time? We will, Your Honour. Court in recess. February 24th, 11:32 AM. District Court, Defendant Lobby Number 2. There's no stopping you, is there, Mr. Wright? Huh? What do you mean? You called for Jake Marshall. It seems you've figured everything out. I haven't figured anything out. Lana, you're the one who knows everything. Emma, you always know everything. Why don't you just tell us? Mr. Wright is trying his hardest to protect you. I don't recall ever asking for his protection. How can you be so cold? Don't you trust us? Don't you trust me? Hope I'm not interrupting anything, pals. Oh, guess I am. I'll come back later. No, come back. Oh, Detective Gumshoe, what is it? You got a lot of nerve, pal, making a detective run all around while on duty. And to top it off, you called me here. I completely missed that last line. Sorry, detective. You better be, pal. Hey. Hey! 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 I didn't see you there, Miss Sky. That's okay. So, have you brought what I asked? Oh, oh ho, oh ho 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 ho! You mean this, right? My apologies, detective. Due to my present circumstances, I was forced to use Mr. Wright's name when making my request. My name? Never in a million years would I have thought it was you who asked me. Can I bother you to bring me the SL9 incident files? I'll need them by noon. Talk about crazy. The SL9 incident? But Lana, that's... I thought Mr. Wright might need them, so I had them brought here. Here, you might do well to read them. I can't believe you. The chief prosecutor were a witness in that case. Miss Sky was a witness? Received a file of SL9 incident files. Take it from me. You don't want anything to do with serial murders. Oh, what? Now that I brought your stuff, you're just going to ignore me? Emma, but why? Why is your name in here? What? My name's in there? I don't know. Unless... No, it couldn't be. Lana, this SL9 incident, is that... That's the classification number the police filed it under. 2 years ago, the rest of the world knew it as the Joe Dart killings. The Joe Dart? No. No, Lana. That's over with. No! Emma, wait! She ran away. You know what? I just remembered I gotta be somewhere. Sorry, pal, but I'm out of here. Jake Marshall, Angel Starr, Damon Gant, Miles Edgeworth. Not to mention Lana and Emma. Everyone involved in this case is connected to those killings 2 years ago. This can't be just a coincidence. Knowing you just might be able to figure it out. Time to get back to the trial, Mr. Wright. Best of luck. I'd better take a good look at this file. Well, this has just got really, really strange. To be continued! Oh man, what time are we at here? 52 minutes. Let me have a look and see if I can judge how long this next section looks like it's going to be. It doesn't look like the next section would be that long, but I also am completely aware that this game lies. Okay, let's try it. Let's try it. Alright, let's keep going for now. It says I've only got another 2 cross-examinations to do. Or 3, but 1 is short. But I don't trust this game. Right, anyway. February 24th, 12:14 PM, District Court, courtroom number 9. We're going to speed testimony. The court will now reconvene for the trial of Miss Lana Sky. Emma didn't come back. Allow me to call the next witness to the stand. The officer in charge of guarding the evidence room on the day of the crime. Jake Marshall. Witness, please state your name and occupation. Me, partner? Oh, I'm just a man same as you, wandering the trails of civilization. Okay, occasionally helping the elderly cross intersections when needed. Oh, I know, you're a patrolman. As for my name, if you listen hard enough, you can hear the howling wind call it out. To be exact, it's Jake Marshall, Your Honor. Howling wind? I've never heard Edgeworth described that way before. Now, Mr. Marshall, let me ask you something. You were in charge of guarding the evidence room on the day the crime took place. Is this correct? According to the papers, partner. What do you mean? A desperado's soul is as boundless as the desert sands. No paper can sum it up. Maybe it's best we get on with this quickly. Please share with us your testimony of the day of the crime. In English. Day of the crime. Where are we at? Yeah, day of the crime, okay. Yeah, so we've got three different testimonies. Day of the crime, Bloodstained fingerprints and Marshall's confession. Confession, eh? My job was to keep a wary eye on that bone orchard. They said I was supposed to make rounds 3 times a day, but that ain't my style. Besides, the room's protected by 2 security systems anyway. If I remember right, I was at the street side saloon at the time it went down. I'm just an innocent traveling man, so if you're out of ammo, it's time I hit the trail. That's not how this works, partner. I can't say I particularly care for your attitude. Yeah, me neither. I can't say I care for your beer, but you don't see me complaining. Wait a minute. What do you mean by 2 security systems? I mean the security cameras and the ID card reader. I reckon even a cowpoke like you knows about those. Yes, well, what about the fingerprint-activated locks inside the evidence room? Fingerprint-activated locks? What kind of newfangled doohickeys are those? He's not being very helpful. He's not that good with machines, or with following orders. Everyone's got their weaknesses now, don't they, Mr. Prosecutor? This one seems like trouble. Okay, Mr. Wright, he's all yours. Okay. My job was to keep a wary eye on that bone orchard. How exactly did you keep an eye on the evidence room? I just made sure nothing moved in the security camera monitor. That room's so still, even the time dies in there. I was just a caretaker who interred the recordings. You interred them? The videos of nothing aren't that useful. When the time would come, I'd erase the tape. If nothing unusual is recorded, the tapes are to be erased every 6 hours. Each time I'd erase a tape, it felt like I was erasing a part of my life. This guy has a flair for the dramatic, but it isn't going to do him any good. So in actuality, you don't physically enter the evidence room. They said I was supposed to make rounds 3 times a day, but that ain't my style. But you made your rounds on the day of the crime, right? Ain't you heard a word I said, partner? I told you that ain't my style. I'm afraid I don't understand. No desperado I know lets rules get in his way. No desperados I know join the police force. So, Officer Marshall, on the day of the crime, just between you and me, I didn't set foot in the evidence room that day. There was a rubber glove stuck in the victim's locker. Do you know anything about that? Sorry, partner. Can't say I do. I haven't been in that crypt in weeks. How does this guy avoid being fired? Besides, the room's protected by 2 security systems anyway. You used to be a detective, so you've used the evidence room in the past, correct? Of course. Back in the day, my locker was a goldmine of evidence. And yet, you didn't know about the fingerprint locking in the mechanism. Sorry, partner, I ain't good with machines. I couldn't even tell you how a back works. That's quite, incredible. The sensors on the locker handles cannot be seen. It's well known that some detectives are unaware of their presence. Now that he mentions it, Detective Gumshoe said something like that too. At any rate, it doesn't seem that this is relevant to the crime. Can you tell us what you were doing when the crime took place? If I remember right, I was at the street side saloon at the time it went down. What were you doing in a place like that? I was eating spaghetti. Not even Angel's steak lunches can beat that parlor's Vignoli sepia pasta. What? Do you mean to tell us you abandoned your police duties to eat some noodles? No, he abandoned his police duties to eat pasta! Noodles and pasta are not the same thing! I will die on this hill. Noodles are like a Asian thing. Pasta is an Italian thing. They are completely different. You would not get... If you opened up a pot noodle and it had pasta in it, you would be very confused. And if you opened up a pasta spaghetti and it had fucking ramen in it, you would be very confused. Not all desperados eat tacos, partner. That's not what I meant. I hope this has at least taught you a lesson. That's strange. This is usually where Edgeworth says, "Did you not want a raise this year?" I'm just an innocent traveling man, so if you're out of ammo, it's time I hit the trail. Out of ammo, Officer Marshall? That's right, partner. Or as you call it, evidence. If you plan to pin me to this crime, then you better draw. Otherwise, you're just wasting my time. My steel horse is waiting to carry me back west into the sunset. 'Cause I'm a cowboy on a steel horse I ride, and I'm wanted, dead or alive, dead or alive, dead or alive. One thing seems clear. Despite being responsible for guarding the evidence room, the witness doesn't appear to have seen anything. Texans don't take orders from anyone. Everyone knows that. Apparently your superiors don't. Okay, I have a trump card up my sleeve, so I'd best keep my cool. Before I use it though, I'd better up the ante. Okay, what do we have? What do you know? What things do you know? By the way, did I even read these? I did not read these. Criminal Joe Dark, serial murder, sentenced death. Victims Edward Jones, Edith Kirby, Jeb Bates, Jason Knight, Rachel Moss, Neil Marshall. Marshall? Head prosecutor Miles Edgeworth, witnesses Lana Skye and Emma Skye. Executive investigators Damon Gant, Lana Skye. How can you be the investigator and the witness? Head investigator Bruce Goodwin, investigators Jake Marshall and Angel Starr. Okay, well that hasn't helped anything at all so far, but right. I feel like there's like got to be evidence that he was like in the room and he's lying or something, but I don't... Like, can I use that? I can probably use that when he says he hasn't been in the room. But he doesn't say that! Okay, I'm gonna use the handprint and see what happens. Music stopped. Officer Marshall, doesn't it strike you as odd? That is, you being called in to testify like this. After all, you weren't in the security room at the time of the crime. And yet you dragged me down here. Explain yourself, partner. It's quite simple. You left a very large trail behind at the scene. Or to be exact, a handprint. Listen real good, partner. Like I said, I'm the caretaker of that crypt. I pay my respects. That is, make my rounds about once a month. It's only natural my fingerprints would be in there. I only wish it were, officer. But you see, your fingerprints were covered in blood. Witness, what is the meaning of this? Your blood-stained fingerprints were at the crime scene? The blood was wiped away, however. A luminol test clearly revealed this. Well, Officer Marshall? It seems to me there ain't a person in this room with a head on his shoulders. I take it you have an explanation then, Officer Marshall. About the blood-stained fingerprints? Very well, you may begin your testimony about your fingerprints, found at the scene of the crime. Okay, testimony number 2, here we go. Like I said, it's only natural for my fingerprints to be in that evidence room. One of them just happened to be at the same place as the blood-stained handprint. The murderer touched the locker where my fingerprint was by chance. The bloodstain and the fingerprint are completely unrelated. Or didn't you know the murderer was wearing gloves? See? I had nothing to do with it. The witness's explanation appears valid, although there's room for doubt. Life wouldn't be fun without any doubt, partner. The defense may now cross-examine the witness. This guy's hiding something, I can feel it. Now's my chance to prove it. Like I said, it's only natural for my fingerprints to be in that evidence room. That's because you... How did you put it? Pay your respects once a month? Yeah, that's right. That and one more thing. That locker happens to be mine. What? What do you mean? I mean what I said. That's the locker I used when I was a detective. The locker I still use. All that's in there now, though, is a heap of broken dreams. I see. Which does raise the question then of how did someone manage to open it and put something inside while Goodwin was leaving the room? Jake? It'd be strange if my prints weren't all over that locker. Apparently his fingerprint data was never changed. He must have been using the fingerprint lock without even knowing it. Marshall's fingerprints updated in the court record. Updated to what? The print found a Marshall's own locker, the print had been white. Okay. So then, what about the bloody handprint? Wasn't mine. It's no mystery. Please explain. My locker is covered with fingerprints. It just so happened the murderer touched the locker where my fingerprint was by chance. The chances of that happening are 1,000,000 to 1. On the contrary, one could argue just the opposite. The chances of that not happening are 1,000,000 to 1. Get one thing straight, partner. You ain't gonna get no reward from me from a mere fingerprint. You wanna know why? The bloodstain and the fingerprint are completely unrelated. Unrelated? They're as different as night and day. Kinda like cereal and cereal. One's got to do with breakfast, the other's the type of murder. He's right. Although seemingly alike, they are totally different. I don't see what homonyms have got to do with this. Or didn't you know that the murderer was wearing gloves? How do you know that? I may be a loner, but I still do my job. I keep up on the reports. There was a bloodstain at the scene, thought to be left by the murderer. That's right. It was found in Detective Gumshoe's locker. However, no fingerprints were detected on that handprint. Oh yeah, I think we tried that too. So that would mean the murderer wearing gloves happened to place his hand on top of Officer Marshall's fingerprint. That's the only logical conclusion. Are you starting to get the picture, partner? The picture? This seal of blood in the desert is just food for the buzzards. There's only one reality, and that's this. The security tape. As long as my trail ain't in there, you can't... Oh, my trail ain't in there, you can't say otherwise. This isn't getting us anywhere, Mr. Wright. Please consider carefully where you're going with this cross-examination. I think we need to talk about the thing hanging out the locker, because it's his locker, he could have opened it and put something in it, which means he was the one dressed up as Goodman. Now then, continue your testimony, Officer Marshall. Too bad it wasn't me in that video, right, partner? I think it was. What do you mean by that? You want to tie me to this crime, isn't that right, partner? If so, that video is the only direct evidence you have. That video is next to useless. It's full of blind spots. Blind spots? Places you can't see. The camera's panning back and forth. The floor isn't shown. If someone was familiar with the camera's position, he could leave the room without being caught on tape. We don't have time for your speculations, Mr. Wright. Well, Mr. Wright, if you can show us evidence in this video that indicates Officer Marshall was present, please do so now. I can! It's the thing hanging out the door. The thing that I showed you all the way back in the first time you may watch this damn video. Allow me to point out your mistake, Mr. Marshall. Officer Marshall. Tread carefully, Mr. Wright, or you might wind up being the one making the mistake. Now then, let's have another look at the video. Show us the incriminating evidence of the witness, Officer Jake Marshall. This fucking video. The fact the music doesn't stop when I fast forward is even worse. Now will you fucking look at this. bringing your attention back to the security camera is a mistake I'm afraid you'll soon not forget, Officer Marshall. The days are short in Texas, and so are our tempers. Could you sum up what you have to say in 8 words or less? Very well. You can clearly be seen in the video. Exactly 8 words. Not bad, partner. The key lies in a certain locker shown in the video. See this locker that has a white cloth sticking out? This is the witness's locker. Now then, let's rewind the video a bit. Stop making me look at this fucking video. I hate it. I hate it so much. Oh, the white cloth. It's gone. What's the meaning of this, Officer Marshall? When the crime took place, the white cloth wasn't there. Then it suddenly appeared. There's only one explanation. Officer Marshall, you were in the evidence room at the time of the crime. What's more, you opened your locker when the camera was turned away. I love his boots you can see from the back. Oh duh. Hold your horses. Sorry, partner. You got the wrong man. So what if my locker was opened? That doesn't mean I'm the one who opened it. The murderer needed to hide something, so he opened a locker and stuck it in. It's not my fault he happened to choose mine. Why is everyone staring at me like I'm a wanted man? Because the fingerprints! This guy isn't just plain dumb. He really doesn't know. I hate to rain on your parades, but you're the only person who can open that particular locker. Oh yeah? I call your bluff. You say I opened that locker, now prove it. Do I need to show him the locker door again? A fingerprint sensor? We talked about this earlier today. The lockers can only be opened by the detectives they belong to. What kind of crazy talk is this? Well, Detective Gumshoe did mention something about this. In any case, the locks aren't that obvious. There's even some people in the force that don't know about the fingerprint locks. That does beg the question though as to why, if, like, he must be working with someone else, because then otherwise he wouldn't know that they needed to block the door, the sensor, to open Detective Goodman's door. If he didn't know that they had sensors, then he wouldn't know that it needed to do that. So someone else must have got his door open and put something in it to hold the door shut, because it wouldn't have been him, because he doesn't know that they do that. So Sheriff, what do you have to say? In 8 words or less. I only got 1 word for you, partner. No! You alright, Star? Look at his boots! Look at them! What's-a? 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 Witness, explain yourself. If this is a joke, it's the worst I've ever heard. I assure you this is no joke, Officer Marshall. Now then, please tell us what you were doing in the evidence room at the time of the crime. What was he eating? Olay! Please answer the question. What is he now, a bullfighter? That's alright, Officer Marshall. I believe we can figure the rest out from here. We can? Have a look at these floor plans. There's no place for someone to hide in the evidence room. Yet Officer Meekins didn't see Officer Marshall. If that's so, then where was the witness? It seems Mr. Wright has an answer. That's right. The only possible conclusion. Well then, let's hear it. Where was Officer Marshall at the time of the crime? Here? Well, he was the killer, right? Officer Marshall was standing right here. So Officer Meekins didn't notice him standing there. That's almost as credible as Meekins' warp theory. Your chamber's empty, partner. Better look. Well, where the fuck was he then? Perhaps you should think a lot more about where Officer Marshall was. But I thought we were saying that he was the killer. Officer Meekins should have seen him in the evidence room. That means the only place he could have been would be... Oh, so are they not trying to say he was the one dressed up? Are they trying to say he was just in the room? Because I thought we were trying to say that he was dressed as Goodwin, but maybe we're not. Well, then he would have been like, what, here somewhere? Oh, for fuck's sake, where was he then? Oh, he's in the victim spot? What? That doesn't make any sense. Oh, wait. Fuck, because... I'm an idiot, because Meekins is the killer in this story, and Goodman is the victim. I'm such an idiot, I completely forgot that Meekins is supposed to be the bad guy. I'm sitting there looking at it and I'm like, well this here is Bruce, this is Meekins. No, I'm a twat. Right, no. I had the right idea to begin with, I'm just an idiot. There? But that's where the victim, Detective Goodman, was. Correct. Unless the man wasn't Detective Goodman. I believe the victim in the video was Officer Marshall. It was you dressed up like Detective Goodman. Yeah, I went off course about the rubber bag. Right now. But that's preposterous. Officer Meekins witnessed the detective at the crime scene. Once he saw the man's face, he'd know for sure. He didn't see his face. May I point out, though, that Officer Meekins did not know Detective Goodman. He also testified about the man's reaction when confronted. When I entered the evidence room, I asked him to show his card, sir. Yes? And how did Detective Goodman respond? He suddenly pulled a knife on me. Something about the officer's story puzzled me. If the man has his ID card, why didn't he just show it? Yes, he would have needed it to enter the evidence room, so he must have been carrying it. The answer is simple. He couldn't show it, because the picture on the card and his face don't match. As you can see, Detective Goodman's picture is on his ID card. Oh, I get it. If he showed that, his cover would have been blown. Officer Meekins would have realised the man wasn't Detective Goodman. Do you have anything to say to this, Officer Marshall? You got quite an imagination. Yeah. You got quite an imagination, partner. We got a term for that. It's called circumstantial evidence. Circumstantial evidence? He's still denying it. You're gonna have to do better than that to break a detective. Unless you have hard evidence proving I dressed up as the victim. I can't say I particularly care for your uncooperative disposition. I can't say I care for your beer, but you don't see me complaining. He's already used that joke once. Well, Mr. Wright, do you have any evidence? Anything proving beyond a shadow of a doubt that Officer Marshall dressed up as the victim? Hey, it's the Steel Samurai again. Who am I kidding? I don't have anything like that. I can see the fear in your eyes, partner. Seems you're the one who couldn't take the desert heat. Ugh, this can't be happening. It's so obvious he's the one. What can I do? Edgeworth? It looks like your lack of experience has finally been exposed. Edgeworth, stop that. I'll pass on to you what someone told me when I was just starting out. When you run into a wall with no place to go, return to the basics. The basics? Is he trying to help us? I can't tell. I can't tell if he's being smarmy or if he's trying to help us. For me, that would be what Mia used to tell me. Nick, try thinking outside of the box. I shouldn't look for proof that Officer Marshall was in the disguise. But rather, I should look for evidence that came about because he was in disguise. Why do you think this locker was opened in the first place? What do you mean? There's no reason for Officer Marshall to open his locker at the time of the crime. Yet he did, despite the chance it might be discovered later as it has been. Which means he didn't originally plan to open his locker. According to the defence's argument, Officer Jake Marshall dressed up as Detective Goodman at the time of the crime. Then after the crime was committed, he opened his own locker for some unknown reason. Do you think he was stashing the outfit? Because it's white, and so's the outfit. The fact that a white cloth is sticking out of the locker seems to indicate that he opened it in order to put the cloth inside. So just what exactly is this piece of cloth? Perhaps the video is the key to all our unanswered questions. I don't have any evidence, this video is my only shot. Very well, let's take yet another look at the security tape. After committing the crime, the witness opened the locker to put away the white cloth. Please show us why the witness had to open his locker. Okay, I don't see anything there apart from his coat. Do you think it was because his coat had blood on it? I'm gonna go with that, but I'm running out of fucking thingymajigs after what happened with the floor plan. For some reason, you disguised yourself as Detective Goodman and entered the evidence room. I don't know what that reason was, yet. However, something unexpected happened. Officer Meekins barged in on you. When asked to show your ID card, you pulled a knife on him. However, Officer Meekins panicked, and the white coat you were wearing was soiled with blood. A bloody white coat. You couldn't just walk out like that, so you hid the coat in your locker. Not bad, huh, partner? Now then, Officer Marshall, are you ready to tell us the truth? Looks like I underestimated y'all. I hope you're happy now, Mr. Edgeworth. 2 years ago, if you were only half as persistent then as you are today, we all wouldn't have to be here now, would we? Officer Marshall, tell the court what you did. All of it. Alright. It seems the time has come. Marshall's confession. This is the last testimony, and then it's another day of investigations, it says on the walkthrough. I had to do it that day. I couldn't just stand by and let it die. I stole the detective's ID and dressed like him. I planned to take out the evidence. I wasn't expecting Officer Meekins. I knocked him out and managed to escape. I knew which areas wouldn't be caught on the camera. There wasn't any murder in the evidence room at 5:15. No, we figured that part out. So the supposed victim was really you. But there's one thing I still don't understand. Large quantities of blood traces were found on the floor of the evidence room. If no one was murdered, then how could that be? Officer Meekins managed to cut his own hand. My guess is he's the donor. It looked like too much blood for that. Maybe he's like a hemophiliac or something. Can we get his medical records? When you say it, you mean? Do you even have to ask, partner? The SL9 incident. 2 years have passed since that case was closed. It was going to completely end with the transferal that day. Not if I have anything to do with it. That incident's not over. But what did you hope to accomplish by sneaking into the evidence room? When a case is closed, only the detective who was in charge of it can look through the evidence. I wanted to have a look at it myself one more time. No matter what the cost. I don't care what anyone says, partner. That case is mine. But Officer Marshall wasn't in charge of that investigation. Why does he care so much about it? That day was my last chance. That's why I stole the detective's ID and dressed like him. I planned to take out the evidence. Why did you disguise yourself as Detective Goodman? If I didn't make it look like Goodman was carrying out the evidence transferal, I'd be arrested for stealing evidence, which wouldn't get me anywhere. So you did it to fill the security camera. That doesn't make any sense, because he was the one in control of erasing the footage. He could have just walked in as himself and then erased it from the camera. And he is the one who was in charge of the evidence room, so if he was wandering around the evidence room, no one would have questioned it. And the detective's ID cards. I stole that the morning of the incident. So that really was why Goodman started filing out that lost item report. I returned his ID card. I left it on the floor in the prosecutor's office parking lot. The ID card I found was left there by Officer Marshall. So essentially, you managed to succeed despite your lack of foresight. What do you mean, partner? I mean the fingerprint activated lock, of course. No matter how well you disguise yourself, you can't change your fingerprints. Normally that locker shouldn't have opened. So it opened because a rubber glove was stuck in the door by chance? Then Detective Goodman must have opened the locker before Officer Marshall. I wasn't expecting Officer Meekins. I knocked him out. You pulled a knife on Officer Meekins and tried to drive him off? Let's just say I was a little surprised. I only planned on being in the evidence room for no more than 5 minutes. I didn't think anyone would actually come in during that short time. Officer Meekins certainly is a one-in-a-million type of person. Mistaking a detective for an intruder and demanding to be shown his ID? I'll have to think a little more about his raise this year. When did Edgeworth get so much influence? Anyway, he threw himself at me and I ended up cutting him slightly. I'm sorry it had to turn out that way, with me knocking him out and everything. By the way, what happened to your knife? Oh, you mean this one? I don't know what to say. So what happened next? I managed to escape. I knew which areas wouldn't be caught in the camera. So you did your research beforehand. Those who go into the desert unprepared don't live long, partner. I didn't think it would make a difference, though. The security tape is erased every 6 hours. If all had gone as planned, no footage would have been left. However, you bloodied your coat in your struggle with Officer Meekins. If someone was in that security room when I came out, the jig would have been up. I opened my locker and stashed it in there. What was Officer Meekins doing during that time? What else? He was sleeping like a baby. So what you're saying is on that day, there wasn't any murder in the evidence room at 5:15. But the blood found at the scene certainly indicates a crime took place. What, are you blind? The victim shown on that tape is me, and I'm not dead yet, partner. So you stole the evidence from the locker. Actually, no, I didn't. Why not? When I opened the locker, the evidence was already gone. What? Mr. Edgeworth, where's that evidence? It's still missing, Your Honor. Detective Goodman's locker was already empty. Someone else stole the evidence. Officer Marshall, may I ask you one thing? Fire away, partner. It's a free country. Just remember, I'm also free to decide whether or not to answer. Why did you do this? Stealing a detective's ID, injuring a police officer? This is no small offense. Moreover, you're an officer yourself. That's have serious consequences. It can't just be forgiven with a simple cut in salary. Not that salary cuts are ever a valid solution. Like I said, this isn't your case. This one is mine, and I'll do anything it takes to get an answer I'm satisfied with. The witness has an unusual amount of zeal. Let's hear more. I can't just forget the SL9 incident. You know why? But that case was solved 2 years ago, wasn't it? That's the reason the evidence was stored in the evidence room. Joe Dark was convicted for those crimes. One thing I can say for sure, he deserved a sentence. I remember the Joe Dark case. It involved serial murders, didn't it? I don't intend to complain about how it turned out, but there's something that still bothers me. Something went down at that trial. Something no one will talk about. What happened? I don't know. That's what I'm trying to find out. Why is he so concerned with that incident? Maybe I should present him with what I think his real reason is. I had a feeling we'd wind up here sooner or later. Everyone involved here is related in some ways to that case. I better take another look at the files. What is that noise? Oh geez, it is an absolutely torrential rainstorm. Wow, that is some rain. Holy hell. Ooh. Anyway. Right, where do I present it then? Oh, probably that one that said... I do know why, because I said it earlier, I was like, Marshall? I think it's someone that he was related to. Officer Marshall, I think I understand. I think I know why you care so much about the SL9 incident. Sounds like you've been sipping too much cactus juice, partner. I have the SL9 incident file here. The name Marshall is mentioned in here. In a list of murder victims. Neil Marshall. Are you related to this man? Neil Marshall? Yeah, I'm sure you've heard the name. 2 years ago. Oh, hi, Far. Sorry, I just had to answer the door. He received the same lousy prosecutor award you got. Oh, I paused it. Shit. There we go. What? A prosecutor? You must be talking about the King of Prosecutors award. Now I remember. Prosecutor Neil Marshall. He handled the SL9 case before I did. That's right. He was killed. And the case fell into your hands. But what's his relation to you? He was my brother. He was investigating the murders with Damon Gant, chief detective at the time. The group of detectives I was part of worked under them. We were desperate to prosecute the killer. Joe Dark. My brother fought Dark. I've just realised I completely forgot to do the accent. I paused and then forgot. My brother fought Dark and was killed. That was the first time Dark left behind any evidence. That was all we needed. He was arraigned and incarcerated. The case was finally closed, at least according to the public records. What do you mean? My brother couldn't have been killed by Joe Dark. I knew my brother better than anyone. No one could have beaten him in a fight. And that's it. That's your reason for your insane actions? There's more to my brother's death than what the records say, no matter how much you try to hide it. You can't fool me. Well, at least one thing's for certain. Now we know what happened at the police department on the day of the crime. That was the last day the SL9 case could be reopened. Not satisfied with its resolution, Officer Marshall planned to steal the evidence. Disguising himself as Detective Goodman, he entered the evidence room. Officer Meekins confronted him, so he rendered him unconscious and fled. Yes, this mystery has finally been cleared up. No murder took place at the police department that day. The things that happen by chance never cease to amaze. At exactly the same time as the murder at the prosecutor's office, this fake murder was going on at the police department. Chance? It's got to be more than just that. So if no one was murdered at the police department on the day of the crime, that means the murder in the prosecutor's office parking lot was the real one. Which in turn means only one person could have committed the crime. Chief Prosecutor Lana Skye. But wait, a verdict wasn't reached in yesterday's trial. Which is why we examined the incident at the police department today. But there's only one reason the defendant was not convicted yesterday. There yet remained the mystery of the simultaneous murder of the police department. It seems to me, this boy's got the draw on you, partner. All the mysteries at the police department have been uncovered. No contradictions. Remain. The murder took place at the prosecutor's office. The only suspect is Lana Skye. There were no errors in the testimony of the witness Angel Star. If you have a response, make it one word or less. Arrgh. I rest my case. It seems this trial has reached its conclusion. There's no room for doubt. Well done, Mr. Wright. Thanks to you, I didn't need to waste my time disproving the alleged murder at the police department. There's no doubt what I proved today is true. The apparent murder on the security camera's tape really was fake. But I didn't realise that would end up proving Lana guilty. Now then, the time for the verdict has arrived. This court finds the defendant Oh god, what is she doing? Your Honor, wait. Emma? The defense has an objection. A scientific objection. Right? What do you mean, right? Mr. Wright, are you this girl's guardian? Your Honor, in a sense. Please, Your Honor, all I'm asking for is a minute of your time. Please hear me out. Mr. Edgeworth, please. I don't want to leave any loose ends. You want a minute? I'll give you 3. What the hell has she got to say? I was kind of in shock. I mean, finding out the SL9 incident referred to the Joe Dart killings. Now that she mentions it, the names of both Sky sisters were in that file. The Sky Sisters! Angelica! That's when I figured it out. I mean, what Officer Marshall was trying to do that day. So I knew his fingerprint had nothing to do with the crime. That left only one thing. The other handprint. You mean the traces of blood found in Detective Gumshoe's locker? But no fingerprints were found on it, right? No, but I figured if I examined it scientifically, I'd be sure to find a clue. So I ran over there and looked at it again. So did you find something? No. Huh? Sorry, I guess I'm not much of a scientific investigator after all. Is that all? Please don't be mad. I'm just a high school student. And I'm just an attorney. But Mr. Wright, those traces of blood are the only clue we have. If we can't find something wrong with them, please, Mr. Wright, you're a professional. If anyone can save Lana, it's you. Me? Oh boy. Time's up. Now then, Mr. Wright. With regard to the incident at the police department, does any reasonable doubt remain? It appears the defense is troubled by the other blood mark. Looking at the floor plans, a handprint was discovered around here. Is there a problem with this? Mr. Wright, I'm sorry I can't be more use. But still, if you can't find anything wrong with that blood mark, Lana will be... Please answer my question, Mr. Wright. We don't have all day. Yes, Your Honor. If ever I've needed to concentrate, it's now. What could be wrong with that handprint in Detective Gumshoe's locker? Could there be something I'm missing? I want to say it's because I don't think we didn't see it. Oh wait, in the video we didn't see it, but that's because the blue badger's head is blocking it. I wonder if that's got anything to do with it. The handprint left at the crime scene clearly shows a contradiction. The only thing that seems clear is that you're grasping, Mr. Wright. You've been staring pretty intently at those floor plans. Tell me, is there a problem with them? Yes, this is strange. Take a good look at these floor plans. Something is missing. Missing? You mean something hasn't been drawn in there? Yes, something that, when drawn, will completely change the meaning of the blood mark. Let us pray the defense isn't simply trying to buy time. Very well, Mr. Wright. All this evidence here, there's got to be something I can use. The question is, which item can prove something is missing in the floor plans? Him, because he was blocking the door. What about that piece of plywood? The Blue Badger, mascot of the police force, defender of truth, guardian of proof. Explain yourself, Mr. Wright. Please look at the floor plans of the crime scene. The Blue Badger is not here. So watch what happens when we put him in. This is where he was dancing at the time of the crime. Well? Well, what? Edgeworth's about to have an aneurysm again. That's right. So long as the Blue Banjo is dancing here, it would be impossible to place a handprint at this spot in the locker. What? It's 9 PM and there's a bin lorry outside making so much noise. What are they doing here at 9 PM? I went out at like 10 o'clock last night to put my bins out and they're coming at 9 o'clock tonight. I could have put them out today. So that means, just exactly what does that mean? It means it can't be done. What are you saying? Blood traces were undeniably found on that locker. Don't look at me, I didn't put it there. Mr. Wright, think it through scientifically. Emma, on that afternoon, Officer Meekins was the one who brought the Blue Badger to the evidence room, right? After he put it down, it would be impossible to leave a handprint on that locker. So that must mean this blood mark was left there before the Blue Badger was brought in. Just one moment, I will not allow such far-fetched balderdash in my courtroom. It may sound far-fetched, Your Honour, but it's the only possible explanation. On February 21st, in the police department's evidence room, blood was spilled not once, but twice. But how? One time was captured on tape, taken by the security camera. Officer Meekins cut his hand, from which a trivial amount of blood fell. The problem is, the other time. Someone bled prior to the struggle shown in this tape. It had to have been Detective Goodman when he was really murdered. That's ridiculous. I refute you. The murder portrayed in the security tape has been proven to be a fake. However, that does not explain the blood mark found on the locker. So then, assuming the murder you purport really happened, when did it take place? I demand you show evidence that proves it occurred. When did the first incident occur? To surmise, the defence claims that prior to Officer Meekins being cut by Jake Marshall, who was disguised as Detective Goodman, another incident took place in that evidence room. The blood mark on the locker proves this. Very well, then tell us. When did this first incident occur? Proof must be presented. Proof that shows when the murder took place. There's only one piece of evidence that can show that. Now then, will the defence please present its evidence? What shows when the first crime took place? I mean, I'm assuming it's the thing that, with the thing that says when the ID cards were used, yeah? Was it this one? Do you think that's like a dummy card because he lost his card? Do you think that's why it's all 7s? Like the guest card. If the crime took place inside the evidence room, then the perpetrator would have to have entered the room. In order to do so, an ID card is required. An ID card? Oh, the ID card record. Officer Meekins brought the Blue Badger panel into the evidence room at, let's see here, 4:50 PM. But then that would also mean that if that was true, then Edgeworth went in 20 minutes later and missed a dead body. If the crime took place before that time, then it would be 4:40 PM. Yeah, that's not great. Miles Edgeworth, just what have you done? Yeah, he's going to be on trial for murder again. Why does this keep happening? I never figured you had nerve, boy. Put off the act, witness. It doesn't take a lot of thought to figure out it couldn't have been me. Nope, I ain't getting it. I'm afraid I don't understand either. It's clear from the luminol test that blood was there. However, when the second crime took place, both Officer Meekins and Officer Marshall failed to notice the blood. That means, right, the blood from the first crime was wiped away by the real murderer. I would have had just 10 minutes to murder the victim, carry his body away, and clean up the blood. Unfortunately, that's physically impossible. That would mean the crime must have taken place before Mr. Edgeworth entered the evidence room. Let's look at the chart again. There's only one other card number remaining. 77777777. Talk about a lucky number. But wait, that doesn't make sense. How could Officer Goodman have entered the evidence room? Since there's no record of his card being used beforehand, he must have entered along with the real murderer. That's the only plausible explanation. He went in with 777777. Mr. Edgeworth, please look into this ASAP. Find out whose number is 77777. That's 17 too many, Your Honor. Unfortunately, I'm unable to look up the owner of that ID card. At least at present. What? Explain yourself, son. The ID number 777777 belongs to someone with a rank of captain or higher. Someone who's a so-called executive officer. We don't have the authority to inquire into such a person's identity. It was Gant. It's the only explanation. But that's ridiculous. Just how... I'm not finished talking, Mr. Wright. There's one situation in which we can be granted such authority. If an official charge filed against an executive is accepted. An official charge. You're all alike, aren't you? With your cover-ups and your forgeries. That's how prosecutor's office operates. I take pride in my work, Officer Marshall. I would appreciate it if you would keep your slander to yourself. Slander, is it? Okay. Let me ask a question. Yes? No, not to you. To her, the defendant sitting over there. Your own little executive. Lana? Don't be stupid. She's been charged with murder. Of course we've looked up the ID number. And it's not 77777. Don't play me for a fool, partner. That's not what I want to ask. All I want to know is one thing. About that incident. The SL9 incident? Answer me this, Chief Prosecutor. In that trial 2 years ago, did you really only use legitimate evidence? Do you need the witness to repeat his question, Chief Prosecutor? I heard him fine, Mr. Edgeworth. 2 years ago, I was in charge of the prosecution for that trial. At the time, occasionally, we felt the powerlessness of the law. At least, I did. But, Lana, I became a prosecutor in order to suppress crime with the law. But before I realized it, we were the ones being suppressed by the law. Defendant, just what are you saying? I'll ask you again, Chief Prosecutor. During that trial 2 years ago, did you really present all the evidence in court? Can you look me, an investigator in that crime, in the eye and say that you did? Chief Prosecutor, you didn't. I don't have to, Officer Marshall. Why don't you answer him? Drastic crimes require drastic measures. That's just the way it is. We did what we had to, in order for him to get the verdict he deserved. But Lana, even if it involved forging evidence. Oofed. Drama. See? That's what I'm talking about. No. No! Poor Edgeworth. Order! 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 Lana's remarks caused such a stir. The chaos in the courtroom could not be quelled. The conclusion of the trial would have to wait until the following day. To be continued. Oh, damn. Well. That was a lot of information to get in 60 seconds. It wasn't 60 seconds. But that was a lot to take in. There was a lot happening there. So, what have we learned? We've learned that Officer Goodman did not die in two places at once. One of them was actually Jake Marshall. Jake Marshall wasn't dead. But he was only doing it because he wanted the evidence. He didn't have anything to do, by the looks of it, with the actual murder of Goodwin. Which means that we don't know who did. We don't know what Lana was up to, but we know she forged evidence. And I know that the Blue Badger is still hideous and I don't ever want to see it again. That's where we're at. So next time we're here, we're going to be doing more investigating and we'll find out more about what the hell is going on in this case. And we'll draw ever closer to actually getting to the end. It's taking a long ass time, but we'll get there. But as always, thank you for being here. Thanks for sticking with us. We're getting so close to finishing this game. I can't believe it. I'm gonna go and hide from this rainstorm, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, everyone.